Seattle playing at home in front of an energetic, pretty much full building, and although it wasn't always a sure thing who was going to come out on top, they end up winning by 3. You'll love to see it, especially when it happens twice in the same night. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken do defeat the Ducks 4-1, but on the other side of town, south of downtown, the Mariners opened their season after breaking the 21-year playoff drought. And on opening day, which is a rare opening day in Seattle, they end up winning that game 3-0 thanks to a fantastic pitching performance by Castillo and an 8th inning heroic home run from Ty France that puts all 3 runs on the board. But although that was a fun and awesome way for the Mariners to start their season, which will end hopefully in another appearance in the playoffs when the Kraken start their next season, we are here to focus on this game in this Kraken season. 4-1 win for the Kraken that, honestly, and I know this might not connect with some of the younger audience, let me know otherwise if that's the case, but it kind of felt like one of those Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck cartoons, where it's pretty clear who has the upper hand early on, but Bugs kind of just toys with Daffy for a while and lets him hang around until eventually getting the upper hand. Lineup-wise for the Kraken in this game, who are clearly the Bugs Bunny in that situation, obviously the Ducks have to be Daffy Duck, and unfortunately there just weren't that many cartoons, and still aren't, about Kraken, so we'll stick with the bunny for now. There are no changes in the lineup for the Kraken other than Martin Jones in net for Philip Grubauer, and Jones had been a bit iffy over these last couple of months, so it's going to be interesting to see how that went. Now, fortunately, the Kraken also got the backup treatment from the Ducks, who are just really hoping that they can take over, and got a little bit closer tonight, that best odds at Connor Bedard. But it would be Jones that would end up getting tested first, as counter to most of the Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck cartoons, it was the Ducks that got the upper hand in the first couple of minutes, and I think even before the 2-minute mark in the game, they get a very dangerous series of opportunities. The first one, maybe not so much, it's a pretty easy save for Jones, but it rebounds off his pad, out to the side where the Ducks get to it first, keep the zone, whip around, get another shot, once again going off of the pad of Jones, lets up another rebound. That one leads to another shot, this time from the slot. Jones once again with the pad save, and at that point it turns into a scramble in front of the net. Jones is able to at least keep the puck, it looks like originally between his pads, but it does squirt out, fortunately in front of the net rather than behind him and into it. The Kraken get to that one and mercifully survive that dangerous early rush and onslaught of chances from the Ducks, which would pretty much be the end of their night as far as momentum and good scoring chances are concerned. Of course, they still get a goal, but we'll get there. And who knows, maybe part of the reason the Ducks weren't able to build any momentum off of this early rush of chances, and maybe even carry that over into the rest of this period or rest of the game if they're really lucky, was that shortly after it, the Kraken are going to go to the power play on what, let's be honest, was a pretty soft slashing call on McCann. Either way, it sends the Kraken to the power play, and while they aren't really able to make too much of it, they don't even end up with a shot on goal, a couple of attempts, but nothing actually on net. They are at least able to pretty much take the momentum from here on out. Well, I say here on out, right after the Kraken come up empty on their power play, there's a, I wouldn't say equally a soft call, but still certainly a borderline call that sends the Ducks right to the power plays. The refs, I had really made it seem like this was going to be a parade to the penalty box all game long, which it very much turned out not to be. Either way, the Ducks do get one good chance early on in this power play, but that's saved by Jones, who was reading the puck pretty well, and the Kraken do kill it off. And happily, not long after, thanks in large part to that on-time start from Martin Jones, who hadn't gotten a start for quite a while for the Kraken, especially with Decord being the one that spelled the 2 games for Grubauer when he was sick, the Kraken are able to take the lead with Jones keeping those first few shots out. And it comes off of a pretty nice breakout pass from Borgen up to Schwartz, from one corner of the neutral zone up to the other. Schwartz skating in along the boards on maybe a partial break is being a bit generous, but he has a lot of open ice around him. Skates right up to the faceoff dot, lets the puck slide out in front of him, winds up and fires off the shot, which still is coming from the outside in this, especially considering he could see it coming all the ways. Probably one you'd want your goaltender to save, but it goes right over the pad and into the back of the net to give the Kraken the 1-0 lead. And not only that, but Schwartz's 19th of the season would also kind of serve as a catalyst for what would turn out to be a fantastic rest of this first period for the Kraken, as from this point on, they pretty much just start toying with the Ducks. Constant offensive zone pressure, which pretty much only lets up every now and then for the Ducks to clear it and go off on a change before the Kraken once again start laying on the shots. Or at least shot attempts anyway. By the end of the first period, it's only 16-8, I think, shots on goal. So a decent number of shots for the Kraken, but nothing necessarily horrific from a Ducks perspective, at least relative to how some of the rest of their season has gone. But even with the 16 shots that ended up on net, there were quite a few others that didn't end up on net, shot attempts from the Kraken, and even more offensive zone pressure than that. So it was all Kraken pretty much this entire first period, and it is that relentless pressure from them, and the first line in particular this time, that not long after Schwartz makes it 1-0, the first line makes it 2-0, as they build off of a great shift from the fourth line just before them. And although they do get pushed out of the offensive end for just a little bit, I don't think the puck even gets past center ice. They're right back in the hands of Jared McCann, who goes up along the boards on the right side, eventually getting up to the net, firing off a shot which is saved. He picks up the rebound though, goes around behind the net, circling out to the other side, eventually gets a nice backhanded pass off through the crease out to the other side to Beniers, who was following McCann's track in. Beniers does have to catch it with his backhand, which takes away a quick shot attempt, but he just walks it right up to the side of the net, and his first attempt to just shove it into the net before the goaltender can dive back does go off the side, but the second attempt finds the back of the net, getting across the goal line before he can close off the post, and Beniers puts the Kraken up 2-0, getting his 21st of the season, and now right back to a tie for the lead with 21, leading the NHL in rookie goal scoring. Again, tied with Wyatt Johnston of the Stars. Johnston. There's a T in there. Now, I will say that at this point, after the Beniers goal, which comes right around the halfway point of the first period, the Kraken do kind of seem to let their foot off the gas a bit. I mean, again, they continue to have relentless offensive zone pressure the rest of this first period, get shot attempts and a few more shots on goal and some scoring attempts. But even with all that good offensive stuff they're doing, it seems like they're not quite playing at 100%, and there's almost this air of like cockiness. They just expect that they're going to run the Ducks out of the building. And yeah, I don't know. They're just kind of toying with the Ducks, which I don't know if it was that or just the number of shots eventually some were going to hit him that allows Dostal to kind of get into this game and start making some saves. Which, although, again, if you're the Ducks, you'd probably like to have seen him make a save on that first goal by Schwartz. Or maybe you're glad it went in from the perspective of better odds at Connor Bedard. But from a perspective of trying to win games, that's definitely what he should have. The rest of this first period, he's the reason this game doesn't look worse after one and is still just a 2-0 score. And then continues to be the reason the Kraken don't build on that lead as they continue to lay on the pressure early on in the second. But as we get deeper into the second period, the Kraken again continue to kind of just play this, I don't know if lazy is really the right word, but kind of lackadaisical game, and it starts to show in the defensive end. Really, the best effort from at least the Kraken skater for the vast majority of the second period was a shorthanded breakaway chance for Tanev during the one power play that happened throughout the rest of this game after those two early ones. A power play for the Ducks that the Kraken do kill off. Unfortunately, Tanev isn't able to score on that breakaway chance and was not very pleased with, I don't know, it's the fact that he didn't score or the fact that he got tripped up and sent into the boards after crashing the net. Either way, you didn't take an expert lip reader to realize that he was saying some words not family friendly on the bench. Again, though, the Kraken kind of sloppy in their own end, and at the end of the period, it ends up costing them as the Ducks do end up getting on the board. And this goal for the Ducks does come on a shot that, I gotta say, in a night that was otherwise fantastic for Jones, is one he probably should have had. Now, the play does start behind the Kraken net, where they lose another puck battle along the boards. Again, this kind of lackadaisical play from the Kraken, especially in their defensive end, was leading to a lot of lost puck battles along the boards, which is something that's been kind of a strength for this team throughout the course of the season. But again, with them not really seeming like they're playing at 100% throughout the second period, they lose this one, and the pass goes out from behind the net, right out to the near side, but the bottom of the faceoff circle for a one-timer, and Jones is against the post for the one-time shot, but he doesn't really have it sealed tight, and that shot goes past his blocker, off his side, and into the back of the net, where had he been up against the post and had his blocker in position, this would have been one that just would have gone off of him, or at least he would have swallowed it up without a rebound, which would be the best case scenario. Instead, it's off his side, and the Ducks are now within one. Now, being that this goal does come with just over a minute left in the second period, the Kraken are able to get to the second intermission, still with a 2-1 lead, but certainly not the way you want to end that second period. And although the Kraken have been fantastic this season when entering the third with a lead, I think they said on the broadcast 29-1-3 in such games, it's starting to feel a bit nerve-wracking with how the Kraken played that second period, and if they don't come out with a little bit more intensity in this third, they could end up with a very frustrating end to this game. And to start off the third period, it looked like that might end up being the case, as not long into it, it's another breakdown defensively in the Kraken end that allows a 2-on-0 chance in front of Jones. Yeah, I mean, just see by the screenshot if you can spot where the problem is. Thankfully for the Kraken, neither of those players were Trevor Zegras, who wasn't even playing in this game for the Ducks, or Mason McTavish, and as a result, they don't really take full advantage of the time and space that the two of them had. In fact, there isn't even a pass between them, and Jones makes the save on still a guy that's right up in front of him without any defenders within a chance of contesting the shot. And that, I think, might have served as the wake-up call that the Kraken needed to really start to retake over this game. As it is at this point, or maybe a little bit after, I think the Kraken did allow one more 2-on-1 rush chance for the Ducks, which I think they squandered without even getting a shot off on net. But they do start to turn things around a few minutes into the third period. And although I wouldn't say that they put their foot back on the gas necessarily offensively, they do at least prevent the Ducks from really getting too much more offensively in the Kraken end, as it looks like they're just going to ice this game away and maybe come out with a 2-1 win or maybe 3-1 with an empty netter. And eventually, with just over 5 minutes left, the Ducks send the Kraken to their second and final power play of the game. I might have said that the Ducks power play in the second was the last one, but both teams end up with two. The Kraken get their second here. And well, looks like they're kind of just going to be content with using it to kill off 2 more minutes of clock. Eventually, the one guy for the Kraken, or one of at least a couple anyway, who was not content with just using this power play to kill off more clock, was Daniel Sprong, as he's looking for his 20th of the season, and getting a puck off of a rebound from a Beniers shot, he just kind of skates up into the McCann spot and does the McCann thing, firing off a wrist shot while getting challenged, so firing it off pretty much at the last second before sticks of the Ducks were going to impede his shot. He puts that shot, though, perfectly top corner on the far side of Dostal and into the net to give the Kraken the 3-1 lead, and Sprong picking up his 20th of the season, scoring, I mean, we already knew he was on a career high for goals, so his first ever career 20-goal season. And again, for what issues he's had defensively in this back half of the season that have gotten him scratched in games here and there, offensively, he just continues to produce for this team in that fourth line and second power play unit role. And of course, even more importantly, I think everyone can now let out a huge sigh of relief that the Kraken are going to come away with these 2 points. Again, sure, there's over 4 minutes left of game time, and the Kraken have blown leads in that amount of time of 2 goals, but not against teams as bad as the Ducks, especially not a Ducks team without their best player. Sure enough, the Kraken were able to take care of the rest of this game, eventually getting the empty netter not long after Dostal had left the ice, as it's one of those awkwardly timed goalie pulls that didn't really give their team a chance. In fact, I don't even think most of them realized that the sixth guy was on the ice by the time the Kraken had possession, as they start to back up like they're going to go on the back check, which allows Wemberg to just kind of skate into the neutral zone and fire off a completely uncontested shot at the empty net, which he finds without a problem. Kraken win this game 4-1. So, was it a perfect win for the Kraken? No, certainly not. It certainly wasn't a full 60 minutes they played, and if they play a second period like that against any team they'll face in the playoffs, it's not going to go particularly well. And especially with them, I think at this point, pretty locked into that spot as the first wildcard team. The rest of the season is really about getting ready for the playoffs and getting in that mindset of playing a full 60 minutes and not letting up when you have a lead. So from that perspective, this game certainly had moments of it that could have been better, but in the end, they did get the job done. They got the 2 points and get that much closer to officially clinching that playoff spot, which is helped out by Nashville losing earlier in the day, and the Jets still a few points behind with games in hand. Well, the Kraken having games in hand over the Jets. As for Kraken 3 stars in this game, the first star, I'm not going to argue with the official first star. It's Matty Beniers. I mean, even outside of the 2 points, probably the best skater on the ice for the Kraken. Does pick up that goal and assist on the Sprong goal on the power play. So 2 more points for him, now up to 52, and past last year's high mark for the Kraken from McCann, the 3rd player again to do that this season. On top of that, a pretty safe lead as far as points are concerned in the NHL rookie totals. Again, equaling now the 21 goals of Wyatt Johnson as the 2 of them are tied for the lead, and just, I think, I want to say 2 assists with now 31 shy of having the lead in assists once again. So Beniers once again starting to distance himself a bit after letting a couple of guys at least get within eyesight of him in that Calder race. And with the Kraken second star, I'm also not going to argue with the official choice. I too am going with Jaden Schwartz there. He, like Beniers, picks up a goal and an assist on the game, but even outside of that, once again, was clearly one of the most standout skaters as far as full 200-foot game, and had a number of scoring opportunities in this game, even a couple better than the one he actually scored on. So a great game once again from Schwartz. And then the third star, I'm going to go with Martin Jones. Again, it had been a long time since he got a start for the Kraken, and really a while since he'd gotten much ice time outside of finishing the game for Grubauer in that game in Minnesota, the one before this. But coming in, maybe a bit rusty, he started right on time and prevented the Ducks from getting that early lead, which who knows how that could have snowballed into the rest of the game. And even beyond that, he kept the Ducks from tying it in the second period and early on in the third, which allowed the Kraken to eventually put it away late in the third. And with that, I think we'll call it for this one. So as always, love to know your thoughts down in the comment section about this game. Which between this game or the Mariners opening day were you more tuned into? I could definitely forgive you if it was the Mariners, being that it was opening day of the season after they went to the playoffs for the first time in over 2 decades. But yeah, what we thought of this game for the Kraken, that game for the Mariners, all that good stuff. Until next time, if you haven't made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoyed this video, the buttons for that kind of stuff down below help support the channel, so I appreciate you using them. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other. God bless. And go Kraken.